Hello and welcome to our LEAP weekly webinar, Peer-to-Peer Feedback, Developing a True Culture of Feedback. I'm really excited to see so many of you here today, and what I want to do is just go over and let you guys know that we're going to keep you on mute today. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. I'll look to answer them at the end of this. And that we're going to look at about 15 to 20 minutes where we're really going to explore this peer-to-peer feedback. What are some of the techniques and systems we can put in place, as well as what are some of the qualities that we need to really bring to the forefront of our culture to really create that environment of feedback. So I am really excited to be here with you today to share a little bit about this, because really one of my biggest passions is growth, is learning. That's why we do what we do. That's why coaches and professional development people are all about how do we develop ourselves. And it's because that's the environment we would like to create. And that's what this webinar here is designed to provide you some guidance on. How can we create an atmosphere within our teams, organizations, and everything like that to really create a culture of feedback, one where we thrive and innovate on that feedback. So before we begin, to introduce myself, my name is Ryan Boda. I'm one of the founding partners at Leap Training and Coaching. And I really specialize in team building and communication dynamics and what it really does to a culture. And one of our biggest sayings is that, the quality of the culture really depends on the quality of the relationships that we have within that culture. And those relationships completely depend on the quality of our conversations. Everything happens through our conversations, and that's what we're going to talk here about. Now, I do want to let you know that I am certified in conversational intelligence, which is where a lot of these concepts will come from. I have a master's in in leadership development and talent development, and we really specialize here at Leap Training Coaching in one key mission, and that's to develop a company's greatest asset, their people. And that's what this one's all about. How do we actually even get our own employees to develop themselves and others? And so that's what this is going to be about. So to start off here, I want to just open up with the idea that we're talking about a growth environment, a culture, an atmosphere where everyone feels that they can speak up, that they can share, that they can provide feedback, input, questions in a safe, comfortable environment where everyone knows they're being heard, listened to, and respected. And that's what this culture is all about. This is how companies drive innovation. This is how companies make a difference in the way that they serve their customers and their employees, by creating a growth environment where people have the freedom to fail, the learnings that come from it, and really it creates a loyalty, a joy, a love for this company. And that's what peer-to-peer feedback can do. Now, as we look about this, there were a few concepts gathered there. So when we look at forward-thinking organizations, the ones that are gaining market value, the ones that are driving success, gaining popularity, are the ones looking at innovation. And in order to examine innovation in its connection to feedback, we really want to look at what is this concept of providing this openness in this space to be able to say, oh, this doesn't work. Look, this isn't going to work very well in this sense. How can we make it work? How can we look at this, provide some feedback? And what you find is that the most innovative companies are the ones that have these environments of feedback. And in my master's program, I learned from a gentleman whose all three kids work for Disney. And it talked about how Disney's culture of innovation is all about this growth environment. And it's that no matter what project they do, they have specific roles that are designed around feedback. Specific roles about people at your same level are providing you feedback on your ideas and on your concepts. So we really want that innovation. And then that freedom to fail. When it comes to feedback and the freedom to fail, the concept is that we shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes, try something out, go about exploring new ways of serving our customers and our people. And that's what that growth environment is about. And so when we look at freedom to failure, we have to lean into what are our learnings. And that's growth. That's development. That's peer-to-peer feedback. What were your biggest learnings on this project? And it really creates a company where people are more loyal. And so what we really want to make sure we do here is we talk about 3 techniques that we can really use to set up the systems of peer-to-peer feedback, because that's going to be important. And then we're also actually going to talk about 3 qualities. 3 qualities that we want to start implementing, looking for, promoting within our cultures. Those are the qualities in which we're going to create systems and an environment of feedback off of. So what I want to start in is techniques. So when we look at our techniques, we look at 3 main ones that we really want to look at for peer feedback. And the first one is actually called peer mentoring. And it's really about creating a system where we assign peers to mentor each other. What that looks like is it's actually a 2-way mentoring system. It's not designed that I know how to do this and you don't, or a lot of normal mentoring programs, which is you're new or newer to this position, let me assign you someone who's been here for a while. Peer mentoring is allowing people a structured system to work on developing each other and their skills. We all have strengths. We all have systems we use well, creative things we do well, leadership things we do well. And then we all have areas of weakness, things that we need to strengthen. And when we can admit that in a peer-to-peer mentoring system, that's what allows us to say, hey, I noticed that you do a great job of handling this conflict. Can you talk me through how you may handle this situation I'm dealing with? That's a mentoring. And then that person can ask you, hey, I am not great at this creative side out of pulling this input out of my people. Could you support me in that? Or, oh, you handle client concerns really well. Could you just talk me through what are some of your thought processes? That is what a 2-way mentoring system is designed to do. And by formalizing it, you create a setup system where people need to utilize each other for learning, growth, and all of those types of things. So the first one is that peer-to-peer mentoring really lets us build those connections and learn from each other. And what you're going to do from that is you're going to open the space to the fact that we can share and learn from each other. That I can admit to you, I don't quite know how to do this in the best way possible. Would you look at this with me? The second one we want to talk about is setting up an actual system of project learnings. What that means is, we work on projects, tasks, group things all the time, but sometimes we forget to look at what did we learn, because we're in such a fast-paced environment where we don't always have the time to stop and say, oh, let's talk about our biggest learnings. What are some things we can take to the next project and things like that? We just keep moving. So what I ask you to really look at is, how do we set up a system where we get to review our projects as a team, as a group who worked on the project? And when we set up that time to look at the project, what we're really looking at are, what are our biggest learnings? Not complaining about the project, not only looking at what was the best thing ever or the numbers or the statistics, anything like that. Just really sit down and say, what were our biggest learnings? And by doing that, that is why people who maybe design events already know all the things to look at. It's because they go, hey, my biggest learning from this one was, gosh, I need to schedule this an extra month out. And things like that. We learn those things and then we implement them in the next project. And that's why people who have been in events for 25 years have the best flow to the event, right? They set them up, they feel calm because they've had those biggest learnings. And that's what we need to do as a team. Now, another model that we talk about really for a technique is, how do we set up what we call grow coaching? And the GROW model is a very easy model. You can Google it, GROW model. It is a very simplified coaching model. But what it's designed to do is have us support each other as we're going about projects, everyday work, situations we're dealing with. And we really work with each other to say, how can I help coach you along this process? So our peer-to-peer feedback part is, it really helps us walk through this step-by-step process of what are our goals, what are we going to do, what's our next step, things like that, for each of our situations. But what it does is it creates an environment where peer-to-peer, when we set up a grow coaching system in partnership, really lets us provide feedback, feel like we're in a safe environment where we can start to share. Because as a peer, I may say, here's what I'm dealing with, and I'm not quite sure how to deal with it. And they'll say, okay, let's walk through this step by step through this grow model. It provides that vulnerability, that trust that we really need to create an environment where we thrive. So really what I want you to look at is, what systems can I try out? We've got peer mentoring, right? Really allowing each other to support each other in building our skills. We've got project learnings. This is huge on feedback. Let's all share what our biggest learnings were and really explore them together. And then the grow model, the grow coaching partnerships from peer to peer. How do we create that? Print those grow models out and really walk through them together. And that's something that we help clients with a lot, is how do we set up these peer-to-peer feedback and allow people to come into it with an open mind? Now, the other side of this is not just can we set up the systems, the techniques, we have to set up the qualities. What that looks like is we all bring ourselves, we bring our fullest self, we go to bring who we're meant to be in the moment, to each interaction, to work, all of that. And we may set up the system, we may set up those things, but without this quality side, without this, what is the culture really founded on? The principles, the beliefs, the values. Then we only have a system. We have a system where people may turn in their hours. They may turn in a required sheet, but are they putting themselves behind it? Are they bringing the qualities that they're meant to be their full self? And so the qualities that we talk about most often when it comes to peer-to-peer feedback is, number one, compassion. What does that look like? Compassion is taking a deep breath, being there to understand someone else's point of view, being there to understand the challenges they're going through, and not being judgmental, not being looking at somebody in a different light. No, compassion is about bringing an understanding to where are you at right now, and having compassion for the experience that you're having, the emotions that you're having. And so what we talk about with compassion is that when we do peer-to-peer feedback, one of the biggest things that we can do is to have compassion for that. Somebody else is admitting to us, I'm struggling here. I'm not sure how to interact with this. I'm not sure how to handle this. And the compassion to say, oh, I'm hearing you. Would you like to explore that farther? Or tell me a little bit more about that. It's a compassion for, I'm here with you on your journey to find out the answer. That's huge. Because when people come from annoyance, judgmentalness, that shuts the space down so quickly that people are not going to provide strong feedback and feel open to it. The next one actually leads me into that word, which is open. It's about creating an environment where we understand that we're coming from a mindset of learning, right? And openness from ourselves in a peer-to-peer feedback setting where we're able to share some of our concerns, and openness from the other to really receive them and hear them, and openness in that I can provide you clear feedback without the fear of being defensive, and openness for me receiving the feedback, that I'm open to what you have to share. I'm not going to get defensive. I want to hear, I want to soak up the learning so I can say, oh my gosh, I was unaware of how this looked to this side, and those types of things. So the openness is about cultivating a mindset of learning, discovery, self-awareness, self-management that really lives within us. So openness. So we got compassion, we have openness, and then the last one is of mutual respect. Now, this is such a difficult term, difficult word at times, because we hear people say, I demand respect, or things like that. But the truth is about mutual respect is in a peer-to-peer relationship, we need to mutually be able to respect what one brings, their experience, their feedback, their learnings, their point of view, even when we disagree. So creating an atmosphere of mutual respect allows peer-to-peers to have an openness in their communication that would allow them to communicate, share, provide feedback in a way that they probably haven't before. And so what we really need to figure out how to do is how to really cultivate those 3 qualities of compassion, openness, mutual respect within the systems of our techniques we discussed today, which were peer mentoring, project learnings, and grow coaching. And that's what's going to help us create an atmosphere and a team of feedback, of openness between peer to peer that allows them to say, hey, I'm safe to share. I'm safe to innovate. I'm safe to provide feedback that can help you grow and better yourself, better our team, better our work with our customers. Remember, it's all about a growth mindset. It's all about a mindset of learning and innovation, a freedom to fail, a freedom to share. And what we're really working to do is create a culture of feedback where we feel so open that even peer to peer, that we have the ability to share, to learn, to grow together. That's what a culture of feedback can do. And peer-to-peer feedback is one of the most beneficial, productive things that we can do as a company, because it really does open that space, create that collaboration, and really end up making the end product a better product. So continue to work, because this is not a one and done thing. This is something that we continually cultivate, grow, and build this culture of feedback as we go about peer-to-peer feedback. Thank you very much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video next week, where we're actually going to start to explore a new concept around change, around learning to manage and navigate change in an easier way. And where else to start but the crazy time, the chaos, the crazy time of change. So I'll see you then. Otherwise, remember, system of feedback, that culture we create, the qualities that we bring are what are going to allow us that peer-to-peer feedback, the openness, the sharing that really build quality relationships. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.